We return to the planet of Reen Alpha. Once liberated from the carnage of chaos by the valiant 48th Mordian Iron Guard, the planet has known relative peace for several years. The 78th Talarn Expeditionary Army has cycled in garrison responsibilities as the 48th Iron Guard moved on to more urban battlescapes. The 46th Talarn Artillery, the Emperor's Voice, thought this deployment was going to be a rather peaceful one. Set up on the southern continent, the last few months have consisted mostly of artillery drills against the abandoned ruined mining town and routing out feral orcs in the deep forest. However, one evening, a lone tech priest arrives through the ruins carrying with it a sacred STC and a message of warning. Chaos has returned. Colonel, command has ordered us to fall back to the spaceport.
Has the convoy returned? We're not going far without those transports.
Scorpion 1, this is Ness. What is your ETA? The response over the static Vox traffic was a chorus of shouts and yells, as panicked men tried desperately to hide their fear behind the structure of organized orders and responses.
ETA to base, 2 minutes, we got company, trail us on!
Steel shrieked and the roar of Promethean-fueled engines filled the horizon as the evacuation convoy crashed into view. Despite the urban ruins, the three chimeras managed to break loose, kicking up gouts of sand and dust in their wake. With the demonic Primarch of the World Eaters on their tail, two brave tank commanders prepared for a final stand. Their steeds of iron belting out the Emperor's fury.
Blood for the Blood God.
As the first tank commander was destroyed under the demonic might of Angron, the second commander knew what had to be done. Yes, this is Scorpion 2. Fire mission, launch barrage in my coordinates. That's suicide. The Emperor protects. Shouts ran up and down the artillery battery as shells were slammed into breaches and Eagle Storm rockets roared to life. Fire! As the smoke cleared and the dust settled, the only remains were several deep craters.
He's not dead,
Echoed a raspy yet regal voice. As Colonel Swiftwind turned, she came face to face with the Lord of Death himself, Lord Mephiston of the Blood Angels, accompanied by a pair of uniquely clad space marines.
We have been tasked with securing the STC from the chaos threat. You have your orders. Evacuate,
Mephiston commented, to which the Talarn officer merely nodded and began belting out the evacuation orders. As the last of the Talarn forces vanished into a cloud of dust, the Lord of Death turned to the SDC and the lone tech priest that was standing guard. You recovered this artifact?
Yes, Lord.
My battle brothers of the Atlantian spears and I shall defend this device for as long as we can. However, if chaos reaches it,
I shall destroy it, Lord.
This time on Stop Motion Battle Reports, we pit the Atlantian Spears versus the World Eaters. Can the World Eaters get to the SDC in time, or will the evacuation be successful? Let's get into it. Just as the Atlantian Spears were rushing to man the trenches, the World Eaters launched their assault. Waves of silver, red, and gold charged from the ruined mining colony. As the World Eaters are unleashing hails of lead towards the Astraeus battle tank, the Primarch of the World Eaters spots a squad of infiltrators upon a ruined walkway. Smashing forth, the Primarch knocks the ruins to the ground, tearing apart any survivors of the fall. As the trio of dreadnoughts approach the Lord of Skulls, its hulking mass standing above the trees of the grove, the Tech Marine performs emergency battlefield repairs upon the damaged Leviathan. Turning to the Redemptor, he performs the appropriate rituals to activate its machine spirit. With their mastery over the sanctified arts, Lord Mephiston and the Primaris Librarian channeled their powers. While Mephiston's attempt to boil the blood of the World Eater Primarch was ineffective, he did manage to harness the wings of Sanguinius and leapt closer to its quarry. The librarian turned towards his nearby squad of assault intercessors and cast great boons upon them.
Blood for the Blood God.
Despite Angron's strength, the Lord of Death was a skilled combatant. The two figures locked in vicious combat was a sight to behold. However, elsewhere, the Lord of Skulls rolled forth, and with little effort, his mighty chain axe tore the wounded Leviathan Dreadnought to shreds. As chaos charged into the lines of the Atlantian spears, Mephiston hurled himself into Angron, bearing his sword into the demon. With a hallowed cry and guttural choking sound, the Primarch fell. However, just as Mephiston could catch a breath, the haunted axe of a master of executions split his power pack in half and sunk deep into the spine and skull of the Lord of Death. The two champions of destruction lay dead beside each other. Stunned by the Lord's death, the crippled squad of assault intercessors fell easily to a blood-crazed spawn. News of Mephiston and Angron's death echoed along both armies. Fear and anger filled the hearts and minds of Atlantian Spear and World Eater alike. Each side steeled their minds as they eyed their quarry.
Outpost 32, Outpost 32, do you read? Do you have the SDC?
Identify yourself.
Captain Razor, 139th Catachan. Command said you all needed an STC evacuated.
Affirmative. Warning, landing zone is infested.
Not for long.
Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed the stop motion battle report, and if you didn't know, the whole mission parameter was that the World Eaters were supposed to reach the single objective, which was the STC in the enemy base, by the end of turn 3, their turn. And if the Atlantian Spears had held out by the beginning of turn 3, then they would get the air support, and that's obviously what happened. There were a few things. Now, I think the World Eaters could have done really well had they had a few better rolls, and maybe if we didn't have the Corn Berserkers in the Rhinos. I know in 10th edition we'll be able to move up closer and then disembark. That would have been a lot better. But this is the last 9th edition that I was working on. And so as far as stop motion reports in the future, since I'm moving and I have no idea the size of the place I don't know if I'm getting an apartment or getting a house. I don't know if I'm going to be renting. I'm not 100% sure how everything's working out yet. So I probably won't have room to do the same setup I have here. I'm selling this house, and I never thought I was going to. I thought I was just going to stay here. But new jobs, it's a good opportunity. It'll make a little bit more money. But housing there is a lot more expensive. So it's a little yin-yang, but a lot closer to family. So that'll work out. Now, because of that, I probably won't have a table. I probably won't. I'll have all the gear, but I probably won't have space to set it up realistically. And if I'm renting a place, I don't want to drill holes in the wall and mount lights, and so it probably won't be a stop motion sort of setup unless it's like really small squad-based stop motion, like a kill team thing. But these larger scale 2,000-3,000 point stop motions are probably going to have to hold off until I can get a more permanent location. So you might not see them for about 2 to 3 years, which will be fine. I'm still going to keep the studio updates once I get settled back in, because I still have lots of stuff to paint. And I might do some smaller stop motion. Also, now I'm getting married next week, so I have a captive audience to help me play. And we might just film some regular battle reports, just playing some regular 500 to 2,000 point games or 3,000 point games. Obviously, those would be a lot longer format. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the stop motion. I really like the result of the stop motion as far as the setup, getting it all filmed. That kind of is a bummer. It kind of sucks. It takes a long time to do all that. It takes about 4 to 5 days to do the filming, to get all the pictures and everything, and then it takes another week or so of editing to get it to even to the state it is now. So if there's some issue where you're like, oh, I'm not super huge fan of this, it still takes a week to get to this level. But aside from that, I think it turns out pretty well. I like the narrative. I was actually surprised, because what we do when we're playing the game is, even though the narrative or the mission is kind of set by like what I want it to be, we're still rolling the dice. We're still trying to see if what side's going to win. And I did make one mistake. The part where the Lord of Skulls dies, he would have died anyways, but I forgot about the alternating activation of combat. So he was charged by 3 things: two dreadnoughts and a tech marine. So obviously he got charged. So the first combat would have went to the Leviathan dreadnought, but he should have been able to swing back and kill one of them. Now, if he swung back, he possibly could have killed the Redemptor dreadnought, which means he wouldn't have died. But the Leviathan dreadnought had less. I think the Leviathan dreadnought had more wounds. No. I think the Leviathan dreadnought at that time was on full wounds. He did kill the first one, but the second one I think was on full wounds. So he could have killed the Tech Marine or killed the Redemptor, and then Lord of Skulls would have survived one more turn. I don't think he would have gotten through the Blade Guard veterans quick enough to really do much. So I think that's fine. I think the end result still would have been the end result. Now, with the new release changes for Heresies of Legend that just got announced, not sure what I'm going to be doing with the World Leaders Army. I'm probably just not really going to add any more models to it for a while. I don't like 8-bound. The only thing I could see adding is like a 5-man squad of Terminators and a Land Raider, but that's way for the future. But yeah, I would like to get a Titan at some point. That'd be nice. But as far as stop motion, this is gonna be it for a considerable amount of time. Hope you guys enjoyed, and if you want to see some more smaller squad stop motion, or maybe like a narrative storyline with like a few models, just kind of like, a slice of life, like a stop motion slice of life series, I can probably think of something that'd be kind of fun. But aside from that, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you around. If you want to support the channel, you can. The link to my book is in the description below, and aside from that, have a good day. Goodbye.